Alright guys, this is going to be second video on the subject of patrolling, and as I've mentioned in previous videos here, these videos are a little dated, but the principles and techniques are very solid. And as I look around as a former security company owner, as I look around at the state of current security officers, I think that we should, rather that we would benefit from falling back to these principles, taking the job seriously because it's important. So, just laying it out here for you, hoping that you could benefit from this. All right, so here you go.
You need to know your way around the post and feel comfortable that you know where everything is. Every post should have post instructions. Post instructions spell out the duties that are expected of the security officer. Be sure to read these instructions several times or until you thoroughly understand them. If there is something in the post instructions you don't understand, call your supervisor and ask for an explanation. Let me repeat an old proverb. Tell me, I'll forget. Show me, I might remember. Involve me, and I will understand. That says it all. Just telling you how to patrol, and you might forget. Show you how to patrol, and you might remember. But if you get involved, you will understand. Criminal acts are not the only way a lawsuit can occur. Safety hazards also carry liability exposure. People can get injured and sue after having accidents as well. So as you patrol, you need to be alert for safety hazards. Finding a safety hazard is a preventative opportunity. If you see something that could possibly cause injury, take action. Whether you take immediate action or just report it depends on the situation. Let me go over a few safety hazards you might come across. It's a good practice to check all stairwells and halls several times each shift. Most stairwells and halls have emergency lights. These lights have a battery backup system built in and will activate when the power goes off so that people can see. If the backup battery is dead, then the light is useless and becomes a liability. So you need to check it often. Press the test button as you walk by to see if it lights up. If the light fails, report it. Look for slippery or wet floors. If it is just a small wet spot, consider blocking it off until it is cleaned up by maintenance. Look for and clear away blocked firefighting equipment and fire escapes. Don't let an accumulation of rags, paper, and boxes, especially if they are near an appliance that could set them on fire, accumulate. Escalators are another liability. If they malfunction, people could get injured. Whenever you discover an escalator that is stopped, block off both ends. Most shopping centers prohibit baby strollers for obvious reasons. If you observe someone with a baby in a stroller trying to get onto an escalator, advise them of the danger. If you patrol outside parking in the summertime, here's an extremely important safety hazard. Look for cars with the windows up and locked that have small children in them. As you are aware, it only takes a short time to cause heat stroke. If the child has been in the car a long time and is too small to unlock the door, and you don't have a way to get in other than breaking the window, then smash the window and take the child out. If the child is in the back seat, break one of the front side windows so that they don't get hit with glass. It is better to have your company pay for a window than to lose the life of a child. Regarding fire extinguishers, always check the inspection tags once each tour of duty. If the expiration date has passed, report it. If the next day when you check fire extinguishers, it still has the expired tag, report it again. Remember that liability exposure. When you check elevators, look for broken buttons, lights, and vandalism. Check to see if the doors are operating properly. Do they close and open all the way? Does the emergency telephone operate? Is the inspection card up to date? Are all the lights functioning? Does the emergency light work? In most modern buildings, fire safety codes require that elevators automatically lock down on the street level whenever the fire alarm goes off. This is for the safety of the people in the building. It forces them to exit through the fireproof stairwells. Most state fire safety codes require that elevators not be used in the event of a fire. The reason is that people could get trapped inside them, or the intense heat could melt the call button and cause a short and make it stop on the floor where the fire is. You can imagine what could happen to the people when the door opens if the fire was hot enough to cause the button's wires to melt. Now, if the fire alarm goes off at a post where the building elevators do not have an automatic lockdown system, bring all the elevators to the street level and lock them open. If you don't have a key to lock them, put chairs or anything you can to prop between the doors so that they cannot fully close and be used. If you observe a suspicious box or package, or one that appears abandoned or out of place, there is a possibility that it could contain an explosive. Never get close to it or open it. Immediately call your supervisor or the police for further instructions. Block off the area and calmly ask people to stay away until it is determined that it is safe to return. As you patrol along fence lines, look for gaps, cuts, or sign of tampering. Every time you come upon a gate that has a lock or hasp, pull on it, regardless if you checked it on the last shift. Don't assume that because it looks locked, that it is. Check it out. Someone might have just closed it and didn't snap it shut, or worse, someone wants you to think that it's locked. People smoking in hazardous areas where smoking is prohibited should be asked to move to an area that allows smoking. Look for propped doors. Don't assume that the door is locked because it is closed. Touch the door for heat, then try to open it. If a door won't lock, look in the door strike in the door frame to see if someone stuffed it with something to prevent it from locking. Also, look at the door's spring lock tongue to see if someone has jammed it with something to prevent it from locking. Always check hinges to see that the pins are still in place. Report defective switches and lights, regardless if they are inside or out. Be sure to check emergency exit lights over doors. They need to be on day and night. If they're out, report them. When a customer has parking available for employees, visitors, or their customers, they usually have parking regulations that become the security officer's responsibility to enforce. These responsibilities consist of issuing temporary parking permits and notifying management when unauthorized vehicles are parked in reserved spaces. Security officers assigned to gates to check vehicles in and out are there because there is a need for that service. Businesses are concerned about their assets, so security officers are assigned to log in and out trucks and cars leaving the property. Sometimes the security officer is required to match the contents of a truck with the shipping papers. Don't let vehicles leave until you are satisfied that everything is in order. Here is a list of things to look for in parking lots. Look for lights out, burned out or broken. The fact is, dark parking lots draw criminals and have more accidents. Suspicious vehicles that could be stolen or abandoned. Write the tag numbers in your notebook. Suspicious persons. Always ask for backup. Vehicles running unattended. Gasoline spills or strong odors of gasoline. Because each post is different, there will probably be several more items to add to your checklist. Being on your feet for long periods can be tiresome, and everyone needs a break now and then. The problem with taking a break and being a security officer is that unlike taxis, you don't have a sign that you can display that says, "Off duty." When you're in uniform, you always look like you're on duty. So if you need a break, be sure to call in for the break time and find a place out of sight from the public to rest. The last thing you want is the customer or the public seeing you sitting down. They won't know that you're on a break, and they'll assume that you're goofing off. Here's another tip to remember regarding the public and assumptions. When you get off work, leave the post. If you have to sit and wait for a ride, change clothes, or at least put on a non-uniform jacket or shirt and cover the uniform. Earlier, I told you about making reports when you are the person observing the situation. Now I want to tell you what to do when someone reports an incident to you.
Officer, help me! I've been robbed. Somebody stole my purse.
All right, are you hurt?
No.
In a situation like this, where a woman is obviously upset, the security officer's first step is to calm her down. The officer first radios into his dispatcher that he has a serious incident. The officer continues asking more pertinent questions, such as height, weight, description of clothes, etc. He will then ask which way they went and if they had a vehicle. Even though this takes a few minutes, it is imperative that the officer get as much information as possible. The more information he gets, the better the chance the police will have of apprehending them. Now that he has the who, the what, the where, and the when, he then radios that information into his dispatcher, who in turn would pass it on to the police. Now once things calm down, the officer would prepare an incident report using his notes for reference. The greatest enemy of the security officer is boredom. You could patrol for weeks and find nothing wrong. Then suddenly one day something happens. You never know when it will happen. Therefore, you have to stay alert at all times. Don't ever think that if you make an uneventful first round, that nothing will happen later. And also don't think that just because you have patrolled an area several times, that you will not run across an event that will need investigating and reporting. You have to stay alert 100% of the time.
Why'd you fire me?
Sam, come on, doing a class here, Sam. Calm
I don't
down.
care about that. Look, I've worked for this company for 10 years. I want my job back. I ought to shoot you. I ought to shoot you too.
Like I said, you never know when something's going to happen. For fun, let's see how good your powers of observation are. Question 1. Was the man taller or shorter than me? Was he thin, medium, or heavy? And about how old was he? What did his shirt look like? What color hair does he have? What kind of weapon did he have? What was his name? Okay, 1, he was shorter than me. 2, he had a medium build. 3, he's 40 years old. 4, he had on a red shirt. 5, his hair is dark brown in color. 6, he had a Glock pistol. Remember, I called him by name. His name was Sam. The point of this demonstration was to impress on you that you never know when something important will happen suddenly. And you have to remember the facts and make a report. So be prepared 100% of the time. Being observant is only half the job. To complete the duty process, you have to report it. Why a report rather than just tell what happened? Because many people will want to know about it. The customer, your supervisor, management, and sometimes even the police and the court. What is the proper way to patrol? Rule 1, never set up a pattern. In other words, don't set up a routine that can be predicted, letting someone know exactly when and where you will be next. Always vary your patrol routes. Let's say you're patrolling a 10-story high-rise building, and you're required to check all the floors and stairwells 3 or 4 times during the tour of duty. Vary the routine and directions you patrol. Don't always start at the top floor and work your way down. Occasionally check the 7th floor first, and then go to the 10th floor, then the 1st floor, and so on. The next time you patrol, change it again. You also want to change the times you check. And don't always start patrols exactly on the hour. Sometimes you might want to start 10 minutes after the hour, the next time 5 minutes before. Only you should know what floor or what direction is going to be checked next. Occasionally you might do an about-face and check the same floor again. There are always exceptions to the rule where a pattern is unavoidable. For instance, when your duties require locking and unlocking of doors at specific times. Alarm systems require special attention. Alarms are installed for a reason, to protect valuables and alert security if someone unauthorized tries to bypass the system. There are all kinds of alarms in use today. If your post has an alarm system, be sure you know exactly how it works and where the entry points are. You need to know what to do if the alarm goes off and where to check. Fire prevention and control. Fire is the single greatest enemy that you will face during your security duties. Thieves can steal some of your customers' property. Vandals can destroy some of your customers' property, but a fire can destroy all of your customers' property. As a result, detecting fire is one of the most important responsibilities you have. You need to be alert to the danger of fire every minute you patrol. Now you have to use all of your senses. You could not only prevent the loss of property, but save lives as well. Always remember this important statement. The best time to stop a fire is before it starts. The best way is to be able to recognize fire hazards and remove them. Even so, you need to know something about fire, such as what are the conditions needed to be present in order for a fire to ignite. Let me go over a few basics that will be helpful to you. While the objective is to get the fire out before it gets out of hand, you should always remember that it is the fire department's job. Unless you have had training in the uses of fire extinguishers and other firefighting equipment, always let the fire department handle it. First, and most important, whenever you discover or suspect a fire, sound the alarm. Call the fire department and notify your company dispatcher. And always remember to give your exact address, including the floor or location. Some fire alarms ring at the fire department while others do not. You need to know how the alarm system works on your post. It is always best to call the fire department anyway, just to be sure. Now there are 3 components needed for a fire to ignite: fuel, heat, oxygen. Think of this as a triangle, with each leg representing a component. Fuel, heat, and oxygen. When I say fuel, I mean materials such as wood, rags, paper, etc., or perhaps in a liquid like oil, gasoline, or gas. The next component is heat. The amount of heat needed to start the fire will depend on the material's ignition temperature. Some materials require less heat, like paper and gasoline, where rubber requires more heat. The last component is oxygen, and all fires need oxygen. Take away any component and the fire will go out. Remove the fuel or material, then there is nothing to burn. Reduce the temperature by using water or a fire extinguisher rated for a Class A fire, and the fire goes out. Remove the oxygen by covering it with a fire blanket or foam. It can't breathe, and the fire goes out. By remembering the fire triangle, it will help you recognize fire hazards as you patrol. All fire extinguishers are marked and rated A, B, C, or D because there are 4 classes of fire. Class A fires are fires that, when burning, leave an ash, like wood, paper, leaves, and rubbish. Class A fire extinguishers contain water or a non-combustible liquid and will cool the fire down by reducing the heat. Class B fires are fires that involve flammable liquids such as gasoline, oil, or paint thinner. Class B fire extinguishers contain a substance that blankets the fire, such as foam. Class C fires are electrical fires. Class C fire extinguishers contain dry chemicals. Class D fires are combustible materials. Class D fire extinguishers contain special chemicals that will blanket and cool down the fire. As you can see, all 4 classes of fire have different extinguishing methods. Always check your post to see what the fire extinguishers are rated for. And a word of caution, never use a Class A or Class B fire extinguisher that contains liquid or foam on an electric fire. The liquid will act as a ground, and the electricity will run up into it and then into you. You could receive a serious injury or even a fatal shock. As you can see, it is important that you recognize what type of fire you have and what type of fire extinguisher is needed. Using the wrong type of fire extinguisher can be worse than doing nothing. You could spread the fire faster. Another excellent fire protection is sprinklers. They are designed to spray water whenever the temperature rises to a certain level. When you're on patrol, look to see that the sprinkler heads are not blocked with anything that would prevent them from being effective. Get to know the sprinkler system and where the PIV valve is. That's the valve that turns the water on and off to the sprinkler system. If you observe the valve closed, call your supervisor immediately. Check fire doors. These are specially constructed doors that are used to keep fires from spreading and should always be kept closed. Unless the fire doors on your post have an automatic closing feature, make sure they are closed and not blocked. Standpipes are usually stored behind see-through cabinets in walls of buildings. There is a riser, a large valve with a hose and nozzle attached. Always check standpipes for damage as you patrol. When you come across a fire hazard, you should make every effort to remove it. Some hazards you can remove and others you might have to report or get help. Here are a few of the more common fire hazards you may come across while on patrol. Smoldering cigarette butts, oily rags, heating equipment, heating appliances such as coffee makers and hot plates. Then there are boxes and papers near heat sources, open cans of gasoline, paint thinner, or other flammable liquids. Don't forget to look for causes of fires, such as carelessness, smoking in unauthorized areas, poor housekeeping, and spontaneous combustion. Spontaneous combustion is when the materials by themselves burst into flames, such as oily rags. As you can see, patrolling is not a simple task. You need to be alert 100% of the time. But patrolling is like riding a bicycle. Once you learn it, you won't forget it. After some experience, all these techniques will become second nature to you. Take what you have just learned and build on it. Remember, a security officer's purpose is to observe, report, and be a deterrent. The better security officer you become, the more valuable you become to your company. With that as your goal, you will be able to provide your company and their clients with effective and professional patrols. Now go out there and show your company that you are a professional security officer and have value.